So it's been a week of doing this, and I felt that we might as well, um, I guess, cap the week off with what started my interest in philosophy in the first place, right? And it really all started here with the trolley problem, right? So, uh, I think everyone knows what it is, okay? So you have a train, okay, on a track, and then it's heading towards a group of people, okay? I don't know, like five people, okay? And then and then there's a switch in the middle, okay? And you're at the switch, okay? And you have the option between, so the train is going this way, okay? If you hit the switch, the train will divert and hit this way. So there's one person on this track and five people on this track, right? And you are deciding is to hit the lever and save five people, but you kill one person that wasn't meant to die, right? So I think it's a it's a philosophical problem, but I think it's one that most people have an answer for, right? Most people will say that they will choose the one, and the simple answer is because five is greater than one, so you obviously want five people to live instead of just one, right? There's no our idea of like blame or fault, right? It doesn't really exist here, okay? Because both of these people are at fault. They both ended up on the train tracks, right? So the alternative, actually, uh, so the concept this is questioning you is about utilitarianism, right? And if I can do that, it's about utilitarianism, and you're looking at you're trying to objectively quantify suffering. Okay, or it's you, yeah, utilitarianism. So here, choosing to hit the lever would, like logically speaking, right? Choosing to hit the lever would result in less suffering than, um, than letting the cart run free, and that's the ethical moral option, right? But the harder question is, let's say you have a hospital, okay, and you have a doctor, okay, and he has five patients, okay, that need organs, okay. These five patients that need organs, and you walk into the hospital, or anybody walks into the hospital, right? Should this doctor harvest your organs to save these five people? Fundamentally speaking, it's the same exact setup, and the question is five is greater than one, right? But most people will not um, harvest the organs from this guy because they see him as innocent, right? So, our so is our human, like, is logic really so easily clouded by a concept at like innocence and um I guess fault, right? Because here both people are at fault, right? You fucked up and you ended up on the track, just like these five people fucked up, okay? But here you have done nothing wrong, right? And also, I think it's testing a fundamental faith we have in doctors, right? Like the doctors take the Hippocratic Oath, right? And we trust doctors largely to not harvest our organs, right? Um, like the problem is people would say I didn't consent, right, to getting my organs harvested, but the one person here didn't consent to getting his organs harvested either, right? Or not his organs harvested. He didn't consent to getting run over, right? So fundamentally speaking, the only difference here is that we are, I guess, yeah, or I not artificially, I guess it's fair, like it's this concept of innocence and fault, right? I guess innocence and fault determines if we live or die in this situation. So the concept that this is testing again is utilitarianism, right? And I think a lot of people will say that they are utilitarian to some extent, right? Um, but our idea of utilitarianism is also very we choose to use it very selectively. Okay, let's just say that. Okay, so I guess the famous example also is, let's say you're walking by, this is you, right? You're walking on the subway station, and there's a homeless man on the street, okay? And he's asking for $5, okay? So, so so we also have to talk about like an economics concept. It's like this idea of diminishing marginal returns, right? Um, so because you have a lot more than $5, uh, this $5 is not as isn't worth as much to you, right? Because let's say you make $100,000, okay? This $5 is like, I don't know, like what is that? Like 1/20,000th, okay? That's a two. Okay, this $5 to this homeless guy, for all you know, uh, could be like a 200th of his yearly. It's not that bad. Okay, maybe a 2,000th, but still, this, yeah, 2,000th is more accurate. But this $5 is worth 10 times more to this guy than it is worth to you. Okay, so why don't you give him the $5, right? So again, it's this idea of innocence and fault, right? This man is at fault for being homeless, basically, or you are assigning that to him, right? Because a lot of people, a lot of time, will give money to a disabled person, right? Or if like you have no arms and you can't get a job at McDonald's, right? But I think a lot of us fail to understand that's more than like the you getting a job. You need a lot more than arms to get a job, right? And if you haven't cut your hair in a year and you can't get a shower, then yeah, you're not even gonna get hired at McDonald's, okay? So we this fault is false, but it's the reality of the situation, right? We do put fault on this homeless person for for being homeless, right? For better or for worse. So we don't give them the $5. But objectively, this $5 is worth a lot more. Also, in this scenario, you are personally um, departing the $5, right? But let's say like you could choose. So it's also this personal aspect of it, right? Like if you were on the trolley, right, and you and you were on and you were on this track, and you could hit this lever, and there's five other people here, right? And the lever was coming towards you, and you can hit the lever to redirect it, right? A lot of people would redirect that uh, train, right? And it is what it is, right? That I mean, that's just I think the mentality is that these people would do it if they were in your position, so it's only fair, right? And I guess to some extent it is, right? I mean, I think every human or every person is their job is to look out for themselves, right? Because I think that's how you have a functioning society, right? If every single person looks out for yourself, the invisible hand will guide the market, right? But it's the same concept, just a lot less extreme. But a lot of people will still choose themselves, right? And a lot of people do give $5 to the homeless man, right? But that's another example. And we have another example, or I guess not really, but yeah, I guess you could classify it as such. Let's say you have, uh, let's go beyond humans, right? Let's say you have, um, okay, let's say you have a group, okay, I don't know, we'll call them animals, okay, and we have humans, okay, and humans eat animals, okay. So here you can choose to save an animal's life, okay. So cow, okay, or you can eat a steak, or I don't know, like how many steaks can you get out of a cow? I don't know, like 10 steaks, okay. Here, the utilitarian decision would be choosing the cow, right? Because the enjoyment you get from a steak is only temporary, okay? You you eat the steak, and then in an hour, this enjoyment fades away, right, from the steak. But a cow's life, how long can a cow, like, think about it, you get 10 temporary enjoyments, okay? And a cow will live a life like how long? Like, I don't know, like 10 years probably. Okay. So let's say it dies at 5 years old. Okay. 5 years or 10 temporary enjoyments. And then you also consider that this cow also has a life of suffering, right? So you also prevent years of suffering, okay? So as a human civilization, as in society, should we kill the cow? Um, so tell me which one is objectively results in the least amount of suffering. Uh, 10 temporary enjoyments or 5 years and years of suffering, right? You tell me. But and the answer, by the way, is this is objectively worth a lot less. Okay, I think a life it's not possible to quantify, right? Like it's the thing of like um you choose to shoot like this one guy or the other. How do you decide who deserves to live, right? Um, you can try to find their objective in quotes, right, worth to society, but ultimately it's impossible to quantify a life, right? And there will never be a correct answer to this. But that's not the point. The point is we choose as a civilization, as a society, to eat meat, even though a life is worth a lot more than a steak, right? And why is this? So, this one in this scenario, the cow is innocent. Okay. Um, the cow is getting killed because of the way it was born. Okay. If that sounds fucked up, it is, right? Because if it was born a fucking dog, you wouldn't eat it, right? And that's the reality of the situation. Uh, but this is another example of this self. It's a selfish tendency, right? Um, we as humans, I think, tend to see a um a cow is not even a living being, right? It's just food. So really, you're just yeah, food. So we so we don't really value this life. So instead of life, it becomes no food or food, and obviously food is the alternative you're gonna choose, right? But we forget that the animals are animals and that steaks don't grow on trees, right? Because if steaks grew on trees, then um, we can all be happy, we can all live happily ever after, right? But it's not the way it works. So that is also one of those utilitarian challenges. And it's now, uh, I think, it goes to show that humans are not as logical as we think we are. Okay, we're very irrational. Our decision making is so influenced by subjectivity and artificial um, value assignments, and very few people are truly utilitarian at heart, right? Uh, because to say you were uh, would mean you are a social outcast. Because I think the homeless thing and the trolley problem are decently agreeable, depending on who you ask for the homeless thing. But for the doctor thing, and I guess especially the meat thing, you will be very much um, judged and looked down upon by your peers, right? So, are humans. Oh, that's not the right one. Are humans logical? And the keyword is perfectly, because we're not. And if we were, I think the world would be a very different place. But human emotions will always triumph, and that is what we all have to live by. But yeah, this is what kicked it all off, basically. Each and every single one of these questions had a role to play, and across my time on this earth, I have uh, thought of each and every single one of these, and I consider myself utilitarian. So you can guess where that led me, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think a cow's life is worth less than 10 steaks? Which is a chicken's life worth less than uh, 4 Popeyes chicken sandwiches and with the side of 3 wings, right? Um, 2 wings. You tell me. But yeah. So maybe we could admit that we do things because we are very biased. And that's fine. But you just have to admit that there's this bias, and yeah, and maybe sometimes you could give up a steak or two and give $5 to a homeless guy. Right? That's today's video. Thanks for watching. Um, if you're here, and you've watched, uh, since the week I started, I guess, thank you very much. And yeah, that's that. I'll see you guys for the rest of the summer, hopefully.